Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, you're now tuned in to the Prince of Investment, coming to you guys and girls all the way live from the city and state of Omaha, Nebraska. I know you guys and girls probably kind of surprised. What is Prince doing back in Omaha, Nebraska? Well, yes, I'm here live in Omaha, Nebraska, and in this episode, I'm going to have a very interesting conversation with Mr. Tony Veland. Tony Veland, if you guys and girls don't know, let me give you a short introduction to him. He's an Omaha born and raised star of this city and state, coming in, playing for the Huskers, winning the national championship with the Huskers, then getting drafted by the Denver Broncos, the best decision he ever made. But but he came to the Denver Broncos back in 1997, and he won a Super Bowl there. Then he went on to the Carolina Panthers. Then he came back and he coached for the Omaha Beef for a while. And now then he went to the financial industry, 15 years into the financial industry. That's what I like about him. We're going to talk about today, going to the financial industry, then now what he's doing as the Director of Business Development at the AIM Institute, nonprofit organization here, getting kids into technology. Because right now, the hot topic right now is student loans. You know, we're going to ask him about this. Everybody's talking about getting rid of student loans, how student loans are so bad. And it's my personal belief, not anybody else's belief, my personal belief that the tech world is becoming more valuable than what we see happening in not the tech world. Technical education is becoming more valuable than you're seeing of the traditional degrees. So people who are going to tech schools earning more money and pay versus the people who get the traditional degrees. But I know y'all guys and girls ain't tuning to sit here and listen to me talk all day. So let me introduce my guest, Omaha, Nebraska's own Tony Veland. How's it going today, sir?
I'm doing really well, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Definitely glad to have you here today and to be back in Omaha. I know we met a couple years ago via Rod Smith. Yeah. Shout out to Rod Smith out there. You know, he took us out to dinner, and Rod's a good guy. I just saw him a couple weeks ago out there in Denver at the Broncos Stadium. So I know when we initially met that we said, hey, I want to do this with you. And it took about 2-3 years. We had a pandemic. Some things kind of happened, but we're here back at Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting, and I'm always here in Nebraska. So definitely thank you for coming on. Definitely really appreciate that.
Of course, appreciate it.
Now I'm going to kind of walk back on some things. You know, I kind of gave that short introduction about you. You know who Tony Veland is, coming from Omaha, been in Nebraska, Husker. Right?
That's right.
And then going off becoming a Bronco, going into the NFL, staying near and dear to football, but then transitioning into that financial industry for 15 years before going into the AIM Institute teaching kids about technology. So, Tony Veland, where you from?
Omaha, Nebraska, man. This is my home. This is my home. Yeah, I'm not. Went to Benson High School here, local high school. My mother still lives in the same house, that we grew up in. Family here. Got 2 younger brothers here. I got a younger sister that lives in Raleigh, North Carolina. I got a couple of kids. I got a son that's 30, who's married and lives in Naperville, Illinois. And then I have a daughter that is 23 that is playing soccer overseas in Lithuania right now. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this question. Football, what did you figure out? Now, I saw your story. I know you don't told this story all over the podcasts in the world. You know, you don't told them, hey, about you running into the pole, about you playing against people.
About that, yeah.
See, running into the pole and stuff like that. But that love for football, was it a thing of you were just good at football, or maybe it was a way to kind of get out like, hey, was it a financial thing? What happened there?
It was a love for the game. It was a love for the game. When I was a kid, we'd play in the neighborhood, and that's back in the day when kids used to be outside and playing all the time, and I'd be out there with some of the older kids, and I just wanted to compete. I just wanted to be able to fit in, show that I could, contribute, and through all those playing and all that stuff, I figured out that I had a little bit of talent. And so by the time I went to high school, I'm just trying to play on the game, just trying to be a receiver. And at that particular time, we didn't have any quarterbacks. And, I ended up trying out for quarterback and ended up getting quarterback. And, history was made from there. Once I got on the field and got a chance to really compete, I was like, okay, this is something that I want to do. Now, I will tell you, I knew my situation, my financial situation, and I knew the only way that I was going to be able to make it to college was either through academics or through sports. I didn't necessarily consider sports my only exit.
Tell me this question. Was you very academic?
I was academic as well.
Oh, you was?
Yeah,
I
was academic as well.
Okay.
I think I graduated, if I'm not mistaken, probably 5th in my class.
Oh,
So yeah,
okay.
so I had that side
Okay.
too.
You know
Yeah,
what, Tony? I didn't have either one of them. I didn't have athletic ability, nor did I have academics. I was like, man, what am I going to do?
get in
But
front of the camera.
get in front of the I had to figure out something, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's congratulations, because
Thank you.
most people think that, hey, it's all brains, not
Yeah,
brains but body. I got to use my
right,
body. I got to use my body.
right.
But the body eventually is going to break
Yeah,
down, and the brain
yeah,
is going to be able to last for a long time. So
exactly.
I didn't want to cut you off. So
No,
you
you're
knew that
fine.
you knew that it was going to be academic or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, even from a young age, I wanted to compete in everything. So whether it was sports or whether it was in the classroom, I just wanted to, number one, show that I could accomplish at a high level. Number two, make my family proud. And then I was just one of those guys that when it came to school, I knew that I wanted to be successful down the line, and I wanted to give myself every opportunity to do that. So the academic side, the sports side, I did some other things outside of that as well. So I just wanted to have a bunch of arrows in the quiver, and whichever one landed was going to take me there.
okay. So now you go up to the Huskers,
Hmm.
right? How was it? Did you know you was going to go to the Huskers? You want to stay home? Why not another
No, I
college?
didn't. I didn't actually. I was originally trying to go to like Colorado or Stanford, and things just didn't work out with Colorado, and I didn't. Things kind of broke down with Stanford as well. But what ended up happening was I went to a football camp my junior year down in Lincoln, and I had a great time. I had an amazing time. It was the first time that I had actually competed with kids from a different state, and first time I really realized, okay, that I really can't compete with these guys, and I got a chance. And I did well. They offered me a scholarship at that particular time, and I just kind of fell in love with the school. I hadn't committed at that time. I actually committed later because I was going into engineering. So I had narrowed it down between Iowa State and Nebraska because of the engineering, and then I chose Nebraska from there.
Okay. So now you get into Nebraska. How was it getting that national championship?
It was amazing. It was awesome, but it was tough.
Mm.
It was a lot of work. We had a lot of talent there. I knew I was going to have to go there and compete. And plus, you got to consider, like, when we went there, we were already winning. So getting enough people on board to say we're going to put in that extra work just to win that extra game, that wasn't easy for the coach. But I think it came in at a time when we had guys who were hungry. We had enough leaders on our team that we could hold the team accountable, and we were all going for that goal. And so went through bumps and bruises and injuries and all that type of stuff, making me stronger. And we all bonded. We came together, and to get that first championship, honestly, was probably one of the best feelings I've ever had.
Wow.
Yeah,
You said the first one. You
yeah,
had to go get
yeah,
another
yeah.
one.
That's right, right.
You
Well,
had to
two
go
more,
get
two
two.
more.
Two is so now that winning these championships, next step NFL. Did you see
Mhm.
yourself going to the NFL? Was that a goal for you, or how was that
To
happening
be
for you?
completely honest, no. I never thought that would happen because when I came to Nebraska initially, I was a quarterback. And at that time, I mean, you remember the only black quarterbacks back then, Randall Cunningham, Warren Moon, that was pretty much about it. And those were, passing quarterbacks. I was an option quarterback. So
Mm.
I figured that college last role for football.
So you play more like a Taylor Martinez?
Kind of like that, yeah. Yeah, something like that. Why you make that face?
Because I know that, you know, you know, a couple of years ago when we was here,
Yeah,
we met
yeah,
Taylor. We
yeah,
talked to Taylor and
right,
stuff like that, and
right.
that's how Taylor kind of played,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But then again, why do you think that Taylor plays that way,
Hmm.
right? And he's
Yeah.
Nebraska. Why was it an option? Why was the option play looked down upon in college football?
Well, because at that particular time, it was still traditional NFL rules. I mean, that was just the focus. You want to find a quarterback that's a drop back guy that can stay in the pocket and complete passes. They hadn't really
Mm.
gravitated towards the more athletic quarterbacks. Now, Randall was kind of doing his thing, and Steve Young had kind of come in. We're kind of doing his thing as well, but it just wasn't as popular. And I knew I didn't really have a very strong arm either, so I knew that route wasn't going to be there. But then when I ended up changing positions and going to defense, next thing you know, I'm getting looks. And so I wasn't until my senior year when I got invited to the Hula Bowl that I thought, okay, maybe I've got a shot. Maybe I've got a shot.
Who was the person you think that opened up that door for the mobile quarterback?
To be completely honest, I mean, I hate to say this, I think it was probably Steve Young, because he was the first. I mean,
Not Vic?
sorry, I think it was Steve Young because he was the first, in my opinion. Well, I shouldn't say first, but around that time, they really started paying attention to quarterbacks who were mobile and get out the pocket and complete passes. And then after that, they got much bigger. When Vic was able to do it, and then it just, I think when it comes down to it, they realize that it's just so much more of a benefit to have a mobile quarterback. Otherwise, you can just sit back there and tee off on the quarterbacks. I mean, and players are getting better. Defensive guys bigger, stronger, faster. It's harder to have a quarterback that's immobile, sitting back there and completing passes all day without taking a lot of damage.
Okay. So now, I think what's 6th round? Denver Broncos drafted?
Yeah.
Denver Broncos drafted in the 6th round.
Mm-hmm.
What was your initial feelings?
My initial feelings, honestly, I was upset initially because I was sitting at home, and when my name went across the draft board, it was on a commercial. So I didn't even know I got drafted. My agent called me and he's like, "It's finally happened." I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm about ready to fire you." That type of thing. He's like, "No, you got picked up by the Broncos." So when that happened, it was, sigh of relief, and I was just excited. I was just excited because, again, I never thought I'd make it to this level. So I was kind of like, deer in headlights somewhat, but really excited to go to this next level and see if I can compete.
Okay. Now you're on the Denver Broncos. What year was 97?
Mm-hmm.
First
96,
year.
96.
96.
Yeah.
You won a Super Bowl.
97 won.
97 you won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So the next year you was there, you won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But it was on that upward trend in 96.
Yeah.
Right. They had been kind of getting to the Super Bowl, but never could get over the hump.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had played really well in 96 and ended up getting beat by Jacksonville, I think, in the wild card playoff game in 96. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of had some unfinished business, and we were able to take care of that.
Now, playing alongside Steve Atwater, you've been a cornerback.
Yeah.
You had Steve Atwater, you had Rod Smith, you had John Elway, McCaffrey, Ed McCaffrey, Shannon Sharp, Terrell Davis. A slew of them probably missing out. But going into a locker room like that, what did that mean to you?
Well, it was amazing. It was awesome. But remember, at that particular time, the only ones that I know that were really big time were Elway and Atwater. I didn't realize that Sharp was as big as he was. Rod hadn't really come to his own yet. He was just,
kind of picking up.
And the same with Eddie Mack.
So you're saying Rod didn't have it all together?
Oh, Rod had it all together. He was just, he was quiet. He was climbing that ladder. He wasn't on the top of the ladder yet.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was great being there because the atmosphere in the locker room was just welcoming and it was fun. But at the same time, it was business, and Shanahan ran a tight ship. He's little general, little Napoleon. But as long as we were doing what we were doing on the field, he was fine. Do your thing, have fun. But I think that the best thing about it was that people were in the locker room were welcoming. It wasn't a situation where, okay, you come to take my job and I'm not going to help you type situation. It was very welcoming, and I think that was one of the reasons why we were able to go as far as we did.
Now, you said Shannon at that time wasn't all the way there yet?
Well, Shannon was balling, but like he wasn't like superstar status.
Okay,
at that particular
he was
time.
Like he's doing his thing,
Yeah.
but he wasn't. Yeah. How do you, looking at the development of Shannon Sharp now, did you kind of see it back then? Is it surprising to you any of Shannon change or being a teammate of his and seeing the whole development?
Well, seeing where he is right now, I mean, it was made for him. That position is made for him because Shannon, like when you go into the locker room, the first voice you hear was Shannon. Shannon, loud, But he was cool. He was a jokester. But, he's one of those guys that, he's got a great presence. He's engaging, but he's also a great team player as well. So I'm happy to see the success that he's doing and that he's having, and I hope it continues.
Okay. Now, what happened in 98?
When I was gone, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. What happened? Like, I know we talked about it behind the scenes. Like, playing with the Broncos and getting that phone call, like everything is going good. You get the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You got the SuperBowl champ.
You talk about a top and then down to a valley. That was tough. I had a training camp that was just okay, and the safety behind me ended up beating me out. That's part of the game. So I ended up getting released, and the tough thing about it was, they tell you if you don't.
Did you miss some tackles?
I missed a couple tackles. It is what it is. You're just gonna call me out in front of people, just like that. Right? Gonna call
Like
me
you
out
know
in front
somebody
of
beat
people.
me,
Yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? Did you miss
But it's crazy because that cut, they generally tell you like if you make it to such and such time, you're good. So if you make it to 8 o'clock and you haven't gotten a call, you're good. Well, 8:13 came. You gotta come. I'm like, man, you gotta be kidding.
So 8 o'clock came, you like, woo, I'm in there.
Yeah. I thought it
Yes.
was good. Yeah. It wasn't good. And then when I went to talk with Mike, and I remember this to the day, he was like, well, this is probably gonna hurt me more than it's gonna hurt you. And I was like, did you really say that to me?
Like, are you serious?
Did you really say that to me? Yeah. But that happened. It sucked for a minute, but then I ended up getting picked up by Carolina and went down there. And I mean, that wasn't as great as an atmosphere. Didn't have the type of success that I did at Denver, but I was still playing. So
cool.
yeah.
So now you get your Super Bowl, you come back, you're doing, you start coaching Omaha Beef. That's arena football, right? Arena football.
Correct.
What got you into that? That was kind of your football.
You know what? It was kind of a way to get my football fixed. I wasn't even thinking about going in that route. I was actually doing something at a golf tournament for this corporation, and the owner, came to me one day. He was like, maybe we should buy a team. Just like that. If I buy a team, would you coach? I was like, I consider. And I didn't know if he was serious, but literally it was probably like 2 weeks later, he bought the team. And so when he made that move, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's a way for me to stay around football and continue to help some of these guys who are up and coming and trying to get to the next level. And so I did it in 8 years. I had a good time. I had a really good time.
Now, going into finances, what was your welcome into finance? Because during your career, if you don't mind asking, how much did you make in your NFL career?
Total?
Yeah, total.
It was probably around 800.
800?
Yeah.
Can I borrow $5?
Well, you're 30 years too late. 30
Okay.
years too late.
So you make this 800, right? So
a little bit less, but yeah.
What did you do with that? Any type of moves?
I didn't really do any type of moves, man. I lived. I invested a little bit. Came back here, and I was married, and life happens. So that's nothing. Hindsight, I wish I would have gotten into some type of business or something like that. It just didn't happen.
Tony, you could have brought like 10 Scooters coffees.
Well, Scooters wasn't around at that time, so yeah.
So shouts to Scooters Coffees out here in Omaha, Nebraska too. Just found out about them probably about a month ago. A couple of them moved out to Denver.
Oh, okay.
And a couple people kind of asked me some questions about them. Yeah. So I said, I know Tony out there in Omaha. Let me see what he knows about scooters. So looking back on it, you say that you didn't with the 800,000. You just kind of like, you didn't even think about like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna need. Maybe I could put this into something. Maybe I could go back to. But think about it. How much houses was going for in Omaha?
A lot less than they are now.
That's
a
lot less
for sure.
So
that is for sure.
But $800,000, or say $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. Most people probably want to make that in a lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Over a lifetime.
Right.
So when you look at you get it that fast, what you would have done differently financially with $800,000?
I would have continued to invest, but I would have started some type of other business. So whether that is getting into real estate to get some type of passive income, or getting to running my kind of own business, and kind of utilize that and be able to utilize my name as well. Those are the things that I probably would have done, and I didn't do either of those things. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Now I got to ask you this question: when you get into the AIM Institute, the nonprofit, how did this happen? Well, first, before we get into the AIM Institute, how did going into the financial industry happen?
So I got into the financial industry actually right after football. So as soon as the NFL was done, I came back here, finished my degree, and I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I was always interested in finance and I was interested in investing. And then my wife's mother had a contact in the business, and next thing I know, I interviewed and I was working there. And so I got into the business, and the whole thought was to help people be better stewards of their money. and obviously coming from the community that I'm from, you don't get that advice, you don't get that information, and going all the way through school, you don't get anything about, you don't learn anything about money or finance. And so my thing was to be able to come back and help, with that, and at the same time, be a good businessman and be a good steward and grow my business name in the community. And so I got into the business, and I'll be honest, it was a tough transition. It was a really really tough transition because here I am going into business development, into sales, and I'm quiet. I'm shy, at that particular time, and so kind of getting out of that was difficult. But when it's all said and done, it helped me grow into the person that I am now, and it was a good experience.
So, what made you want to leave the financial industry?
I initially, I wasn't even really planning to leave. I was doing fine, and um, again, the guy who gave me my first job, he had told me about the opportunity with AIM, and I was kind of comfortable where I was at, but at the same time, when he talked about some of the things that AIM is doing and the impact that they're kind of having on the community, it piqued my interest. And what I was doing with money was a great thing, but at this time, I was really helping people who, for all intents and purposes, they were good. They were fine. And I felt I could have a greater impact on people who look like me, people who came from areas that I came from, and so I went ahead and made the jump.
AIM Institute, tell us about it.
So we are a nonprofit that is trying to grow the tech community. And so when you think about, all these companies out here that, they need people with tech skills. And in this area, unfortunately, a lot of companies are recruiting out of state as opposed to utilizing the local talent here. So our charge is to, fill a lot of those positions that they actually have, but fill them with people who are here. If you've got organizations that are looking long term and they want to fill a future pipeline, we've got youth programs that are getting kids, experiences in IT so that they have to actually learn about it. They actually know about it. And furthermore, when you think about the opportunity in tech, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. There's jobs everywhere, and it's an industry where you make money. There's high demand. There's high security. And so I want to have some of our people, be in those positions. And and plus we're solving a problem for the community. The businesses need this. We need to increase diversity. Our people need this. Our communities need to be able to get into a situation where I can have this job that can change the trajectory of my life. And so we're trying to provide that for those individuals here.
Now, how do you go about doing that? Do you partner with schools? Do you how does that happen?
We partner with schools, but we also partner with businesses and other nonprofits as well. We are actually in about 15 to 16 schools right now with after school programs, and basically again, taking them through tech classes and tech experiences and getting them exposed. But on the flip side of that, we partner with businesses because we're trying to figure out what are their needs. What skills do you actually need? We want to make sure that we're actually offering those, with some of those kids, and make sure that once they get up there at that time where they can actually look for a job, that they're actually looking at your company and you're looking at them to actually fill those jobs. On the flip side of that, we also have a code school so that if you have an individual that's maybe working in retail or in manufacturing or something like that, and they see like tech is where it's at, there's a huge opportunity here. Well, here's a way to get some certifications and actually get in the door a lot quicker than actually having to go to a 4-year school and getting into a lot of debt and all those types of things. So we're trying to provide expedited entry into the field and also provide a quicker pipeline of individuals for all of our businesses to look for.
Okay, so essentially, just partner with schools, not
schools.
schools, but you partner with schools and businesses
Yeah.
to say, hey, what are some vacancies you have?
Yeah.
What will you need? Right now in the tech field, what do you see as a hot thing?
Developers. Yeah.
Like software developers?
Yeah. People need software developers. Cybersecurity is also big right now as well.
What certifications?
You're gonna ask me the tough questions, aren't you? You would
I
have
mean,
to
like,
do that on TV.
because some people say, wait till we get on TV. 'Cause he said that.
I can't tell you all the sort of. I know
Yeah.
we do front end and back end development. We do Java.
Okay.
We also do. We've done some WordPress, data science. Those are kind of our main focuses.
Main focuses.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's, how can other people get involved, or, what are some things AIM is looking for to further their brand?
Well, we love to get just more support from businesses in general. Obviously it takes it takes resources for us to do these programs. It also takes individuals to be able to deliver. So we need help with the finance side, but we also need human capital as well, because we're starting to realize that even as we get people into this field and we get them certifications and we may get them in the door, that sometimes people need, maybe a little bit of mentoring or a little bit of hand-holding as they're actually transitioning from where they are into this new field, because this field can be, difficult. They may not understand the business environment. And so we want somebody that's actually been there for a while to be able to walk them through and show them in and out. So,
I agree with that.
yeah, so if people are interested in either, volunteering to do, short mentorships, that would be great. Or if people just want to come in and help with our youth programs, because kids need to see, the individuals that are actually in this space and actually need to learn from them. So the human capital side is big for us as well.
Okay. Now, what's next for Tony?
What's next?
What's next? Yeah, what's next for you? What's that next thing? Or you could just
You know what? I'll say that I've been doing speaking, kind of motivational speaking, off and on, for probably like 10 years, but it's been really, really sporadic. And I think this year is the year that I really make this real. I'm still obviously doing my job with AIM and those type of things, but I want to be able to influence more kids. I want to be able to kind of tell my story and have kind of a wider impact than I am having right now.
You know Ryan Harris, Bronco, lineman,
I don't.
out of Notre Dame. I know he's kind of big into that. What about a book? Why haven't you written a book yet, Tony?
She would say that. So I have a friend. So I have a really good friend that does motivational speaking down in Lincoln, Nebraska. And when he looks at it, he's going to shake his head. So he told me that I need to write a book probably 5 years ago. And I was like, okay, I'll think about it. And then I got about a year in. I'll start. I'll start. So I wrote down a couple pages and then put it away. Then I came back, wrote down a couple pages. So I got a couple pages. That's where we are right now. But yeah, I do want to somewhat finish it because he's telling me that, for me to have real credibility as a speaker, I need to write a book. So I don't know if I really want to, but I think it is a good story to tell, and so I'm going to try to make sure I get that taken care of.
People want to touch you. When they see you, they want to touch you too. Like, oh, I want to take a piece of you home.
That is true.
Kind of like I want to see.
I never thought about it like
what
that.
You have. So some people they come in and they see you live and they're just like, hey, can I? They may take it home and may just sit up under their dresser.
Right.
But they still want it.
Yeah.
They want you to sign it. Just as a keepsake thing.
Right.
So.
A little nudge, I appreciate it.
Yeah, just like, hey, if you're gonna go out there, you're gonna speak.
Yeah,
and that's another revenue, whole other revenue stream.
That is true. Exactly.
So I've seen some companies where they may say, hey, you may have a speaking fee, and hey, we're gonna get 100 copies of your books. Just come in and sign them for people. Or some people may just do a deal where they just might just get 200 copies of your books, and you just stop by and do whatever, right? And speak, and the company corporations may do that.
Yeah, see, that's all I needed was somebody to put in the money terms, and that's
there you go, right? So that's a whole nother thing, a whole other revenue stream. Because now when you get booked to speak, you come through, hey, I got, this or whatever,
right?
And because I believe that especially every person over 40, especially males. I mean, think about all the things you've been through in life. From everybody dreams of being an athlete, going from you got a lot of stuff about athlete. Not to mention being a dad, being a brother, being a husband, balancing work and life. A lot of people at home don't have fathers. They don't have father figures, and they could look up to something like that, and that could be a gift to someone else. University of Nebraska may say, "Hey, Tony, come on back. We're gonna get 100 copies of your books. Tell people about this. And I think that what makes when I like to read about books, I like to be revealing. Things I never heard or things I didn't know about the person, because it's my personal thing is when I read things, and if it's no recessions or drawbacks, it's not as fun.
Yeah, of course.
You want to see overcoming. You want to see people, like you said, hey, 8 o'clock, I thought I was good, and 8:13, I get a phone call. I get cut after I just won a Super Bowl. Now I got to go to Carolina, and so people love to hear it because somebody's getting cut right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Or somebody's going to get cut. The LA Rams just won, and somebody's going to get cut who think that, hey, so that's relatability.
Exactly.
And that goes for every sport, and that's every aspect in life. Some people who had a great year thinking they're about to have an even better year.
It's not going to turn out that way.
Don't turn out that way. They lose a job, they lose a contract, things like that.
Right.
So now Might a couple current events.
Okay.
Right, you kind of heard me touch on this in the beginning. Student loans.
Mm-hmm.
President Biden got on his desk about canceling student loans. Of course, the people who have student loans, they're saying, "Man, get rid of these student loans."
Mm-hmm.
But some people who didn't go to college are saying, "Hey, I didn't go to college. Why do I got to pay for your debt?" So how do you feel about student loans just being canceled?
It's kind of mixed. It's kind of mixed because I know that the student loans cause quite a burden on a lot of people out there. And a lot of people go to school and, they're paying those debts off, 15, 20 years after, school is done, and they didn't make the money that they wanted to initially, so they don't feel like it necessarily paid off.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that side of it, but at the same time, this is money that's owed. And if you cancel that debt, you're hurting some other business or you're hurting other individuals. Somebody else has to pay for that.
Yeah.
So again, it's kind of a mixed bag for me. If there was a way to do it and minimize, the impact, then I'm all for it. But I think it's got to be done smart.
Mm-hmm. Well, my personal take on that is I disagree with it.
Okay.
Right? Not because I don't think people should get their student loans paid off, but let's say right now we cancel everybody's debt. What's going to happen in 5 years? The same debt going to be right back there because the people that's in the ninth grade right now, and who are senior in high school right now, in 5 years they're going to have the same problem. So what we're going to do keep the door going, right?
I agree.
So my thing is, you need to go down to kindergartners, right?
Mm-hmm.
People coming to kindergarten, who's coming into kindergarten from the time they walk into kindergarten, they're 5 years old, start eradicating student loan debt to be built up in 12, 13 years. Because if not, it's just like, putting putting a bucket up under a leaking faucet.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh yeah, we're good
agree.
today. Everybody's going to cheer. Yeah, student loan was canceled. Then next year, 5 years from now, somebody's going to be walking across the stage with a bachelor's degree, master's degree, like, oh yeah, I owe $60,000.
Yeah, right.
You cleared off mamas and grandmamas.
Right.
What about me? Why can't I get these paid off?
Right.
So I think that it's a deeper rooted problem where the schools need to limit how much they charge, or where, we had this phone conversation of creating investment accounts for children.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying, hey, wait till this person giving all these scholarships away, why not create an investment account for a child? $10,000 into an account, 20, 50, whatever you want to do. Right. Let it compound for the next 12 years and let that pay for school, and invest into the future.
Right.
That's my thing on that.
Right.
All right. Next current topic. Russell Wilson in Denver. How do you feel about it?
Oh, I love that. I mean, we've been hurting for a QB for a minute, man. That's been the missing point. I mean, to be honest with you, when Bridgewater was there, I thought he was okay, but I'll be honest, I never had the confidence in Bridgewater to take us, to the promised land.
You thought we were gonna go somewhere with Teddy Bridgewater?
Well, no, but I'm saying, but he managed enough to win some games. You know what I'm saying? But I wouldn't trust him to take us to the Super Bowl. But Russ, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm looking for.
Think Russ gonna bring the Super Bowl to Denver?
I don't know, but I mean, he's got to do better than we've done in the last I don't know how many years.
Now, Teddy Bridgewater, I saw his 8 games.
Yeah.
So we get about 8, maybe 9.
Yeah.
Right. Playoffs, that was exceeding expectations big time.
Yeah.
And Teddy did that. He kind of got 8 games, maybe 9, something like that, or whatever.
Yeah.
And Russell, I see playoffs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I see playoffs, but Super Bowl, man, it's a tough division.
No, it is. It's an extremely tough division. Yeah.
Tough division.
Yeah,
I think it's going to come down who can stay healthy.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, even right now, just being realistic, we're still probably a player or two away from, Super Bowl type thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, because the Chiefs and the Chargers and it's going to be tough, but at least we can be back in the conversation, playoffs, and that's what I'm looking for.
It's a lot of excitement in Denver.
Yeah, it should be.
Russ. I mean, if I see Russ on TV again, oh my God, Russ is out there. He's him and Sierra courtside at the Nuggets game.
Yeah.
They throwing out the first pitch at the Rockies game.
Yeah.
They all at the hospital. They at the car dealership.
He needs to be getting welcomed like this. We want him to feel like he's home. We feel like you home, so you can, when you get on the field, be comfortable. All right,
when you got drafted into the league, did you be like, oh, let's make him? You had to put in work first.
Yeah, but he's not coming off the street. He's put in some work. He's shown what he can do. You know what I mean? No, it haven't been in Denver, but he has a resume. It's not somebody just coming from college. You coming from college, you have a college resume, but it ain't the same. You know, he's done some things on the highest level already.
Hey, Joe Flacco did too. Joe Flacco.
That is true.
Joe Flacco was a Super Bowl
Touche.
quarterback.
Touche.
He didn't get the parade.
Touche.
You didn't.
That is true.
I didn't see Joe Flacco nowhere.
That is.
I did not see
true.
Joe Flacco nowhere. Then he sucked on the field too.
He did.
But
he did. Yeah.
But he was. But it was
True
like
that.
when Russell came. Was it
Yeah.
shocking?
Yes. Because I wasn't expecting him. I mean, I know there had been talk about Rodgers, but I didn't know kind of Russ was even on the table. But yeah, I would have been happy with both. But yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Now we have this another popular conversation that's going around, and I guess in different settings and things like that or whatever. Of course, what happened over the pandemic, people are looking at minorities in business, that whole capital thing, having black-owned business, black-owned entrepreneurship. How do you feel about that concept and all? What do you think can be done to help or to kind of help bridge the wealth gap?
I'm happy that it's happening. Because you got to have capital. You got to have capital to start these businesses. But I think you also need some type of mentorship. I think you need to make sure that these people that are actually starting these businesses, have somebody kind of be able to, somewhat handhold them to make sure that they're going to be successful. It's one thing to just throw some money at somebody, but if you throw some money and you give it to somebody that doesn't know what he's doing, what I'm saying, that money could be going down the drain. So I love that piece that we're really getting some really good attention on where the deficiencies have been in the past as far as getting minorities in places where they can kind of fend for themselves. So I do love that, and I'm just hoping that it grows, man. I'm just hoping that I'm hoping that this isn't just like a fad type of thing. Like, here, let me throw something to you. You good? Yeah, that type of thing.
Now, let me ask you this question, right? So when you're in one Broncos locker room, just in 1 year, I would assume that at least $50 million or more being paid out to players, right? I would assume that if you add up everybody's salary, you got to make the 52-man roster.
Now?
Now it's probably crazy.
Now, yeah. I don't know. I mean, back then, I don't know if it's that much. But yeah, now, yeah.
But let's go back, because, things are more expensive too now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you got to think about it. Back then, a house in Denver, a real nice house in Denver probably was $250,000. Right? Now you're talking about a real nice house in Denver. Now you 800, 7, 8, or whatever, right? Why is there, I have never seen this. Did you ever see people come together and say, hey, let's pull together some capital and let's just buy some McDonald's, let's just get some land, apartment complexes? And if so, why did that not happen?
Honestly, I really don't know. But I will say it wasn't a situation where they just, paid us money and didn't give us any type of investing advice. We met like 2 or 3 times during the year where they would talk about, listen, these are the things you need to be thinking about doing with your money.
I'm telling you, you went to all those meetings.
Yeah. Yeah, I went to the meetings, man. What are you talking about?
But
I went to the meetings.
But you said you went to the meeting, but you said, man, I ain't do none of that.
I didn't. Well, because I was still new. I hadn't made any money really. I'm still new. Man, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Just using the drinking the orange juice.
No.
you were there for the orange juice.
I'm just saying, because you remember back then.
That's
back then. But back then the minimum was 130, so it wasn't like in my practice squad year, only made.
That's just question. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, what do you think is the average African American male salary in America a week?
I don't know about a week. I'd probably say 40, 50, something like that.
Oh, a year?
Yeah.
40, 50 a year?
Yeah.
Not too far. It's $800 a week, right?
Yeah, that's a lot less. That's $24.
Yeah. So you're talking about $800 a week. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? The average African American makes about $800-some a week. Right. So when you get to the league, you are in the top point.
Oh yeah.
0.000.
Right. No,
0.1.
You're
when
right.
it comes down to average.
You're right. You're right.
You're like, man, I wasn't making that much. It's like,
comparatively, yeah.
You are extremely
I'm just saying
high.
the point that I'm making is like I hadn't made like real money, and so when you're there, especially in that first year, you don't know whether you're going to be there the next year. I don't know if I was going to be there the year following. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really want to do a bunch of stuff with the money because I didn't know if I was going to have to be using that money to actually live off of. You know.
A lot of players say you don't know you're going to get cut.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're going to be
Yeah.
here next year.
Yeah.
So you got family to take care of.
Right. You know, this is different from baseball or basketball. You sign your contract, you get that money. In football, you don't get that money. You know what I mean? You don't sign guaranteed contracts. You get a bonus, and then you get paid every week. So if you get cut midweek,
That's it.
you know, it's done.
Now going back, would you buy a house as a rookie, or would you just
As a
rent?
rookie, no. I mean, unless I was one of those guys that, you know, first rounder, second rounder, where you got a really big bonus. You know, otherwise I wouldn't do that.
So okay, now when we talked about the question, black on pushes and entrepreneurship. When you look into those rooms and those meetings, do you ever see like agents, African American agents, African American attorneys, any in that, because a player is a business.
Mhm.
You got to get treatment. I've never been a player. I'm just telling what I've seen.
Mhm.
You know better than I do. They have to usually get treatment, usually get somebody to train them,
Mhm.
maybe somebody to handle finances, somebody to handle legal paperwork, all this other stuff like that. And that team that they build, do they build that, or do they insulate themselves around, or even provide that opportunity to African American entrepreneurs?
I will say at that particular time when I was in the league,
Mhm.
I didn't see very many. I think I remember maybe one or two. You know, that was either
Why do you think that is?
um, honestly, I really don't know. I really don't know. I don't know if that was just something that, no, I really don't know. I have no idea.
And from the outside looking in, when I see it, I say, man, that's a great opportunity, right? That a lot of people, people go to school every year, finance, they get the degrees, they get the accolades, but then they don't get the opportunity, right? So when you are a player for a time period, 3, 4, 5 years, or anything, right, to even get into those rooms is big or
It's tough.
major. It's very
It's
tough to
tough,
even be seen in that environment.
It is
And
tough.
when I look at players and stuff like that, I think a lot of the issues is like, hey, while you're in that position, if you are, at the top of the game or whatever, that's why I admire LeBron James, right? He just
'cause he
didn't
put people on.
he didn't just give
Yeah.
away his money. He said,
Yeah.
hey, I'm gonna send you to culinary school.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Right.
send you to this school. If you can prove you can do this and do that, because we wouldn't know who Rich Paul was.
No, you're right.
Rich Paul would have
Right.
never got that opportunity,
Right.
no other way.
Right.
But LeBron is saying, hey, you know what? I want this guy to handle this.
Right.
He was able to build his own, roster
Right.
of other people that he can manage.
Right.
So I feel as though when I look at the, and not just saying it's athletes, but I just look at that and I say, hey, well, instead of looking for an outside hand, it's a lot of problems are internal. To say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go buy a house. Do I look for African American to be the real estate agent? Now, I'm not saying just because the person, but making sure you're qualified, they're qualified and things like that.
Right.
And not as soon as you make the first mistake, like, oh, this person got to go because they haven't had the experience. You're just getting your opportunity. You're like, okay, well, let me try to work with this. And if you stick with this person long enough, they'll be just as good as anybody else. But that's one of the things I look at too when I see this big push. I say, well, you got to start looking more internally to say, well, what can I do as a person to say, how can I support other things going on?
Yeah, but as you do that, I mean, people also have to realize that the tough part about that too is having patience, because you know how it is. Sometimes we'll, give one of our guys a chance, and if they don't do well, it's like, I see, I knew I shouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? I mean, people, they do that.
you are on the short list.
Right,
they already
right,
feel like you walk into the deal already like I'm already going on the stretch to even be here.
Right.
So as soon as it's just like, if you live in a suburban neighborhood and you hear a gunshot, you think like, oh, okay, well, maybe that's a one-off, whatever, right? And it could be 5 gunshots before you say something's wrong. But when you go to a sketchy neighborhood, as soon as you even hear a BB gun go off, you're like, man, I know I'm supposed to be here. I'm out of here, because you already feel like I'm already going way out to do this. So that leash is short, I would say. So I always ask people to be a little bit more patient and to support more, because it takes longevity to, if you think that you're going to go start a shopping center and be Macy's, in a year, of course you're going to be behind. You're not going to have the infrastructure. It's going to take a while to learn the industry, learn the game, to be able to be on a competitive level. But sometimes, we walk in and say, hey, well, this person has all of this. Why don't you have all of this? And just like, well, this person has 100-year advantage over you. I'm just starting out. I'm just figuring out can you be a little bit more patient?
Right.
So,
Right.
but
Agreed.
sometimes we ain't patient.
That's true.
Now, the
That is
next thing I
true.
wanted to ask you too, Berkshire Hathaway
Mhm.
annual meeting coming back for the first time since the pandemic. How do you feel about it? Does the energy feel the same as the usual Berkshire annual meeting, or how do you feel about it?
I'm glad it's back, but the energy doesn't feel the same. Yeah,
What
it
it
does.
don't?
It doesn't feel the same right now because generally, I mean, probably a week to 2 weeks before, everybody's buzzing and you know that it's coming. And honestly, I haven't really heard much, to be completely honest with you. So
Wow.
it doesn't necessarily feel the same, but I am glad it's happening. I'm glad we're kind of getting past this pandemic, um, and to have people back here, checking out Omaha and that type of thing. I love that. I love people being able to see my hometown.
Nice, nice. For the city of Omaha, I've seen a lot of development has been happening
Yeah,
here soon.
yeah,
Coming back in 2 years, I was kind of getting lost a little bit. I'm like, I
yeah,
swear this thing's on the right.
yeah.
So, what have you seen? Like, what is next for the city of Omaha? Uh, they're saying people are supposed to move here, and they want to get more people to move here. How do you feel about that whole thing?
I mean, I don't want it to grow into like a, LA or anything like that, but we don't have that type of danger. But um, like I just like the fact that we're more of an attraction than people think. We're not just some old hick town that doesn't have that is only corn stalks and that type of thing. Like we have a lot of great things going on here. A lot of good businesses. You take the Facebooks and the PayPal's and the Googles and LinkedIn. They're all moving here and they're expanding their operations. We're getting ready to get a rail car. They're doing a lot downtown at the riverfront. Mutual Omaha is building a big skyscraper. So we've got some really, really good things going on. So I love the fact that it's going to be a draw because you bring more people here, that's more resources to help. And so I love
Okay.
that.
How do you feel about what are some lessons looking back on yourself now? What would you have done different in your 20s? You today talking to 20-year-old you, if you had to give yourself three nuggets, would you say, man, I would do this, do that, or do that? Because somebody right now that's 20 years old is going to listen and watch this and be
hmm
able to take something away from that.
Number one, I would get a mentor right off the bat because I think that would have helped me transition from school and from football into the real world to have some contacts and kind of walk me through that a little bit more advice. Number two, I would have probably taken some type of public speaking class or communication class early on. I think people don't realize how much of an asset and benefit it is for you to be able to communicate well and to network and to be able to tell your story and to be able to talk about what you want to accomplish and get people on board with you to kind of help you do that. And the other thing I probably would have done is probably started some type of business or got into real estate.
Hmm. Okay. Now, one thing I will say that you spoke on that, being at the AIM Institute, teaching kids about technology. I was at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and a guy told me that one of the dying skills is relationships managers.
hmm
Because he said, "Hey, now there was it was a shift. There was a time when people was face to face,
hmm
right? And relationships management wasn't really valued that much.
hmm
The value was put on the technology. Like, hey, can you work in
Right. Spreadsheet. Yeah.
spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Thank you for
Right.
that. Can you work in an Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Can you, sit behind a desk, a computer, and build software?
Yeah.
And they're saying that now, like you saw, you came in through the lobby. My son's out there; he's gonna playing with
Yeah.
his
Playing
phone all day,
games. Right.
right?
Right.
So they're saying we having an influx of that coming in,
hmm
but relationship management is dying off because kids are not interacting no
They
more.
don't talk.
So they don't talk to
They
you. They're
don't
just
talk.
like, hey,
Yeah.
they're in their own world.
Yeah.
Now that you saw Facebook, formerly, well, Meta, formerly known as Facebook,
Right.
they just came out talking about the metaverse where you can
Right.
create your own world, sit in the VR. So people are
Right.
literally creating their own worlds and building their own friends and going out with their own friends literally in their mind,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So getting face to face and building relationships, like you were saying, speaking to people
hmm
is becoming a more and more lost art form.
Right.
And that is becoming a lost art form is now leading to compensate people higher
Yeah,
because
if they can talk,
that they can
if
talk,
they've got the social skills and the soft skills like that, that actually is a really, really big issue with us, right now. Because even as we're trying to put people, take people from certain jobs and get them certified and get them into these companies, a lot of them are finding out that the social skills and the soft skills are still lacking, and
Mhm.
so it's a huge issue, and that's why I talk about, I don't really care, what you do, what your job is. it will benefit you to be able to communicate. You got to be able to talk. You got to be able to tell your story. And those people who have great tech skills, but they can communicate that, they can lead teams. They'll make money hand over fist. But those people who are just tech guys and that's all they do, I mean, they still have a place out there, but you'll be more successful down the line if you can communicate better.
That's very true. Seeing that soft skills are becoming more prevalent because supply and demand.
Yeah.
The supply is going down of people who know how to actually sit down and have a conversation.
Exactly.
And it goes deeper than you and I sitting here having a conversation, right? It takes communication skills for us to even make all of this come together, from the station, from us to the before and after, to just get this clip that people will see.
Exactly.
So it's kind of becoming the lost art form, and becoming like, now they're kind of like compensating people. Hey, can you talk to people? Can you go out? And I learned quick, fast, and in a hurry. In the financial industry, it don't matter what you can put on a spreadsheet or what you know about investing. If you can't communicate that, and people know what you're talking about, and then people, if you can't build trust with people, nothing else matters.
Exactly.
So I was like, well, even though before those skills was very valuable, hey, who can get back here and create a software, create something, maybe day trade or anything or whatever for a firm.
Right.
But now it's shifting to where we want people who can go out there and consult and talk and be able to talk to people, and people will like and gravitate to.
Right. Well, you said the key word. The key word is trust. You want to be around people that you can trust, and you can't. It's hard to build trust if you can't actually communicate with somebody. And so yeah, you're right on it, man. And I'm hoping that with all these advances, the metaverse and all that stuff, that it doesn't just continue to take us to an area where everyone is isolated and they're not talking, because one thing that COVID exposed is when you by yourself, bad things happen. Bad things happen. It's the truth. Kids, weren't doing well in school because they weren't able to connect, and so if you make this, this metaverse and everybody's doing this now, I mean, they might be connecting on there, but they're actually not talking to people. That's still an issue. So.
Tony, you met Prince 2019. What was the first impression, if you can remember, back in Berkshire? Got to be 100% honest.
Who was this cat? No, I don't know. Honestly, I figured you must have been, one of Rod's business partners. That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Okay. And just like, was I a cool guy?
Yeah. You were cool. I liked what you were doing. I thought it was different, because I don't think I know anybody else that was doing it.
Kind of a pioneer, but I probably ain't gonna get it until I die. But it's all right.
Look, he's trying to get me to SuperBowl. Come on, not really.
We need this.
You're right. You're right. No, you're
keep fighting.
You're doing some great things, man.
Sometimes you need to pat up.
I will be honest. When I knew that you was getting Buffett support and doing some things, and I thought that's amazing. He's a black man doing his thing, learning things about finance and getting out there and teaching people, and I thought that was amazing. So I was really impressed, and was cheering you on from the first time I seen you behind the screen.
Okay, behind the screen.
Well, on the camera.
Oh, on the camera. Yeah, because
Yahoo. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, all right. Yeah, all right. Well, is there anything else you want to say? I think we covered it all.
No, we good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you guys and girls already know, my name is Prince Dykes. This is the Prince of Investment. I'm coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Omaha, Nebraska. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, share button. And to the next video, podcast, cartoon, book, or whatever else crazy you see me doing around the globe. Peace, be safe, I'm out, and thank you.